Today we're going to talk about mountain pose or Tadasana. For me, fundamentally, mountain pose is one of the most important postures or asanas in yoga. I will use mountain pose as a reference to a lot of the other asanas and yoga poses. Taking the fundamentals from the posture, once you understand it and what it does, you'll see how we tend to use it going forward into the different yoga postures. So how does mountain pose work? It's quite a simple posture in its nature, but it actually does quite a lot. The first thing we do in our mountain pose is we need to find shoulder width apart. And we often hear that when we go to classes, shoulder width apart. So what does it mean? The easiest way really to find your shoulder width apart is when you walk and you come to a complete stop. That will be shoulder width apart for you. Sometimes we might make it a little bit deeper when we're in classes, but really trying to stick with your coming to a stop and seeing whether your feet stop is your natural shoulder width apart, because that's how we walk. We don't walk like this. We kind of walk going forward. So finding that is important for you. So it doesn't have to be any wider than that. So once we find this shoulder width apart, what we're looking for then is we'll look down at our feet and we make sure that our feet are parallel. The edges of our feet are parallel to the edges of the mat. Okay, so for what that really means is we're not allowing the feet to turn out or to turn inwards, to be in any form like that. We want them to be pointing forward to the front of your mat, and the sides of the feet will be parallel with the sides of your mat. That's the first stage. So from here, what we're trying to do is make sure that our balance is equal on both feet. Most of the time when we're talking to someone or we spend long periods, we'll go from one foot to the other in whatever shape or form we do it to try and get comfy. With mountain pose, what makes it quite difficult for a simple pose is we don't naturally stand like this anymore. So we're trying to rebalance and repattern our posture. So we're finding our feet shoulder width apart, and now we're trying to gain the momentum of our weight. So we're trying to get the weight even from the toes to the back of the heel. And what I find is when we're doing this, there's a natural tendency to sort of rock forward and backwards gently until the point where your body just finds that still point and it's centered. Once we have that, we're in balance. My knees are slightly soft. Some people will say unlock your knees, some people say keep them soft. It just depends on what way you can listen to it. But the idea is my knees are not locked and my knees are not bent. The best way to describe it is if you look at our elbows, they're not locked. They're slightly unlocked naturally. This is what we want for our knees, just to be slightly unlocked. By doing this, this engages the thigh muscles. When we lock our knees, we kind of push our hips back, but all of our weight goes down through our joints. So when we unlock and just soften those knees a little, you'll start to feel your thighs will start to activate because we're now using the muscle. So our feet are firm and our weight is even, our knees are soft or unlocked, and our thighs are now beginning to contract a little and to work. The next stage as we come into this is we're going to engage our core. So just slightly, we're going to engage the abdominal muscles. You can also push your hips forward. Sometimes you might feel that there's a little discomfort in the lower back, depending if you have lower back issues or disc problems. And if you do, then don't do that. Okay, because we don't want to cause any pain. Engaging the abdominals should be enough, but for some people you might find that bringing the hips forward slightly helps to stabilize your posture. For me, I find I only do that in certain standing postures. But whether the hips are forward or not, the tummy will be engaged. Okay? So we have our feet firm, our balance is even, knees are soft, thighs are engaged slightly because they're working. Our abdominals, our tummy muscles are engaged slightly. Our shoulders are going to be completely relaxed. We're not forcing them back, we're just allowing them to fall gently so that the shoulders are not hunched. They're quite relaxed. So in most of our standing postures and a lot of light sitting postures, we want our shoulders to be relaxed because we want to be able to move into different postures, into different movements. If we're tense and tight, we can't do that. So the idea is to keep our shoulders as relaxed as possible. We're also going to turn our palms forwards. So in some yoga schools, this would be called Samadhi. It's mountain pose basically with your hands forward. Okay. The reason why I like to use this is if I bring my hands to the side, especially as a beginner, and I just leave them here, if I don't concentrate, I can feel my shoulders will start to roll in. When I turn my palms forward, it rotates the front of my shoulder blades and helps to lock my shoulders in and stop them from falling forward from here. So it's a really good posture to get used to and to feel and to rebalance your posture. So as for beginners, I always like to use the palms forward just to help with the shoulders. So my feet are engaged, they're pushing into the mat, or my weight is even through my feet. My knees are soft, my abdominals are slightly engaged, my thighs are engaged, my shoulders are relaxed, my palms are facing forward. So this is our mountain pose. So the idea of this posture is we're not just standing at the front of our mat at the beginning of our sun salutation or whatever we're doing. We're actually active. We're standing in mountain pose. So the mountain pose means it's strong, it's sturdy. So we need the feet to be pushing into the ground. We need the thighs and the abdominals engaged because this is a strong posture. If we look at it from the side, you'll see that my foot is parallel to the front of the mat. My knees are not bent and they're not locked, because if I lock my knees, it pushes my hips back. You'll see my spine will change. So as soon as I soften my knees, my spine will go into neutral and the three natural curves in my spine are in complete balance. What this means for our posture is not only are we realigning our posture and realigning hips and getting our spine in the proper alignment, it means now that in this position I can breathe properly. So when I inhale deeply, my rib cage can expand and my lungs can fill. If we're like this and bent over, I can't fill my lungs properly and I can't open my rib cage as much as I'd like. With your spine being in neutral, this will also help your nervous system. So your nervous system runs from your brain all the way down into the nerves that run through the spine. When we're in these different positions, sometimes we can compromise that a little bit. And over periods of time, we can do damage maybe to the spine and to the muscles themselves. But it also means that the signal might not be clear in our nervous system. So standing in this position helps you to realign and repattern our skeletal system, our muscular system, our nervous system. It'll also help with our pulmonary system. Because we can breathe better. So there's an awful lot happening in this very simple posture. So again, your feet shoulder width apart, pressing into the ground. So our weight is coming down through the head, down through the spine, down through the legs and into the feet. So they're nice and solid. Our knees are soft, they're not locked and pushing our hips back, and they're not bent. Okay, our thighs are engaged because our knees are soft. It means it's engaging our abdominals, our thighs. Our abdominals are slightly engaged because we want this core to hold us in place. Then we relax the shoulders and we turn the palms forward to open up the shoulder blades along the front and to hold our shoulders in place so that they don't fall forward from here. So this is our mountain pose, or Tadasana. I'm strong, I'm firm. I'm also grounded. So in yoga, they don't mention grounding so much, but they actually do, because your feet are being pushed into the ground in our standing postures. So this is our grounding form, learning to be connected to the earth. So a very simple structure and a very simple asana, but there's lots of things happening within the mountain pose. And even if you don't do anything else, if you can learn to do mountain pose on a daily basis, really understand what's happening, really feel the thighs working, really feel your core working, feel those shoulders relaxed, feel your spine go into neutral, weight into your feet. Your yoga in itself will start to get better, because you have a fantastic foundation for all of your standing and seated postures going forward. If you don't really want to do yoga much and you just want to learn bits and pieces, doing this exercise on a daily basis will help to realign your spine, because we mainly have bad posture from the way we sit and stand anyway from our lifestyles. So this will help to repattern that and to help the lungs feel and to help the nervous system, and will help to keep you healthy. And also with the muscles that we're engaging will help the muscular system to build a strong core and to build some strong legs that will help us in our everyday life. So hopefully this video will help, and hopefully you'll be able to practice on a daily basis with this posture. So thank you for joining me, and as we move on with more videos, you'll begin to see how the mountain pose fits in to the rest of the asanas and the postures.